As it turns out, your work matters to God. Your work matters to God a lot. And we're going to try to take the few minutes we have left this morning and uncover 3 truths found in the Bible that if we would understand, embrace, and apply, it would revolutionize our work lives. Now, we could talk this morning about how to find a job that really fits your aptitudes, how to find your vocation or calling. And that's a subject worthy of discussion. But I want to do something a little bit more practical this morning. I want to look to God's Word and see if we can figure out how you can take the job you've got right now, the job that you would like to take that Johnny Paycheck song and say, take this job and, you know, that job, and actually turn it into a happy, helpful, satisfying experience. Here's the first truth from God's Word that I think can help us along that way. And that truth is that your job has intrinsic value. The work you do matters inherently. It matters apart from the money you get for doing the job. Your work has significance. You know, I think it's amazing that the primary satisfaction that a person derives from work is not the paycheck given, even though that's a necessity. It's the inherent satisfaction that comes out of it because you know what you do actually matters. That's where real satisfaction comes from, not from the paycheck. Just imagine you were driving home from the service today. As you were heading down one of the roads that you take on your way home, you stumbled upon a car accident that had just happened. You're the first one on the scene. And imagine yourself hopping out of your car, running over to the individual trapped in their car, and finding that they were bleeding to death. You find a way to wrap something around there and stop the bleeding. Then they go into cardiac arrest. But because you're trained and you know CPR, you're able to actually bring them back to life even before the paramedics arrive. When you head home at the end of that experience, would you be satisfied with what you've done? Would you feel good about yourself? Would you feel like you had done something that mattered? Of course you would. We all would. We'd go home feeling pretty good. We're kind of like a hero. I feel really good. Did we get paid for doing it? No. Was it inconvenient? Absolutely. Was it scary and risky? You better believe it. But what we did had inherent value. It just mattered. The work itself. And consequently, we would be incredibly satisfied because of what we'd done apart from any pay or any recognition. Friends, your work has that kind of intrinsic value. And I know what you're saying right now. You're saying, Dave, you don't know my job. If you knew what I did for a living, you wouldn't be making a statement like, your work has intrinsic value. But I would like to argue that it does for the very same reasons that rescuing and saving that person has intrinsic value. See, your work has intrinsic value, first of all, because it benefits people. All legitimate work benefits other people. So this morning, if you're a thief, or you're an arsonist, or you're a hitman, or you're a pimp, I'm not talking about your job this morning, all right? But if you have any legitimate job, then your job benefits people. It makes other people's lives go better. And it's essential that we learn how to see the connection between what we do and the benefit that we bring to the world. It's very fascinating. Gallup has done a number of surveys and studies to find out why people excel in certain jobs and the skills or mindsets those people have that cause them to excel. And they found something fascinating. They found that when they look at excellent employees who had jobs that many people might consider menial, that these people excelled because they looked at their job radically different than the average employee. Take servers at restaurants. If you looked at an average server, because it was actually in the bottom 10 of most satisfying job by respondents. They looked at the average server and found, what do you do? What is your job as a server? And they would say things like this. Well, you know, my job is to take orders, turn it in, and then bring food to people and make sure that their drinks were full. Now, I have to admit, if that was my job and that's how I looked at it, I don't know that I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. But here's what they found when they talked to the really excellent servers. He said, what is your job? They would say things like this. My job is to provide an outstanding relational experience for the people who come into my restaurant. They would say things like this. When people take time out to go out to eat, it's because they need to spend time together. They need to reconnect or they need to refresh. They need to have the important kinds of discussions that can help to heal relationships or can help to enhance relationships or can set directions for the future. And so my job, these excellent servers says, is to provide an experience where people can have a relationally satisfying time that benefits their lives. Now, you know what? Suddenly it's like, dude, that's not a bad job. They saw the ultimate result of what their job could bring to someone. It would be very helpful if what we would all do is look at our job and say, ultimately speaking, how does what I do benefit people in the long run when it finally gets done? And those are the things that we need to focus on. Every legitimate job brings benefit, helps, assists other people in the world. Learn to see the connection, rehearse the connection in your mind, and embrace it. That's why you work, to bring that benefit to other people. I would suggest there's another reason why our work has inherent value or intrinsic value. It's because it pleases God. That's right, when you do your job well, you put a big smile on God's face. See, God made you to be a worker. He created humankind. At first they were just two. He put them in a particular place. It was the Garden of Eden. And he gave them work to do. This is very important. He gave them work to do. He made them to be workers. In fact, he made them to be co-workers with him in governing the world. And all of that was true before humans got into trouble, rebelled against God, and fractured their relationship with him and with each other. Before there was a fall, before there was sin, before everything got messed up, God made people to be workers. It is part of his creative intent for every single one of us. And when God looks at us doing what he made us to do, to work and be productive and bring some measure of benefit to the world and to others, God goes, yes! That makes me so happy. Back about a year or so ago, I remember my daughter Lindsay came home and she began working on a project for, I think it was a physics class. She had to take like paper and Tinker Toys and popsicle sticks and she had to design a vehicle that under rubber band power could travel at least 20 feet, stop, and then have a catapult that would fling a ping pong ball and hit a target on a wall. That was her assignment. And I remember night after night, she'd be working on that project and putting it together, and the people with the assignment with her would all be together at night, and they're laughing and they're working to put it together, and you know, then at first it wouldn't go, and then they found a way to make it go the right way, and then they couldn't get the slingshot right. I will never forget the night it finally all worked. They put it in position behind the line. They let the little lever go, the rubber bands kicked in, and that thing took off. It was skidding across our dining room floor, got to the right spot, and stopped. As soon as it stopped, they flipped it on a little thing, and a catapult flung out, and the ping pong ball travels about 10 feet through the air and hits right on the bullseye on that target. And every one of those kids in our room, man, you would have thought they were on the Super Bowl winning team. Yes, it worked! They were so excited and high-fiving and hugging, having a great time, because that thing did what they made it to do, and it just made them so happy.